Okay, we are live. I think we are. Anyway, if everybody can see and hear us, please let us know. And while you're at it, tell us where you are tuning in from. What city are you tuning in from?
Where you guys from? I don't think I messed up the whole Instagram thing.
You're trying to stream in multiple places.
Yeah, it's okay. It's fine.
Man.
It's fine. Can you see it on my Instagram, or were you looking at it, or no?
No, I'm not.
It's gone. Okay, it's fine. You know what? If they were meant to see what was happening over here, they would be able to see it. And I guess this is just not for them.
Yes. And it looks like I got my friend Dan that's listening in, and my bro Zach from Living Corporate who's tuning in as well from Houston, Texas.
Hi, guys.
All right. Okay. So let's go ahead and get started because we don't have a lot of time. We don't have a good time, but we don't have a lot of time. And I'm going to be actually sharing another opportunity for you all to join another event tonight right after this one. So for those who don't know me, my name is Cystle Johnson. I'm the founder and retreat host at Design Your Soft Life. I created Design Your Soft Life because I want to help Black women who are saving the world to save themselves first. I am a DEI practitioner, and I've been in the DEI space for about a decade. And at some point, I started to feel disengaged, overwhelmed, burnt out. And I know that I'm not alone, that there are other Black women in this space who are feeling the same. There are a lot of Black women who feel like we need to be everything for everyone. And sis, we don't need to do that. We need to begin putting ourselves first, because in order for us to pour and support others, we have to be able to fill our cups first. Today's conversation is going to be about self-love as liberation. And let me dial back just a little bit. So this show is called We Ain't Dying for This, A Black Woman's Guide to Liberation. And we are quite literally dying because of stress and overwhelm related to us feeling like we need to be everything for everyone. So all of these episodes really focus on ways in which you might be able to liberate yourself, because liberation looks different for all of us. So again, today we're talking about self-love as liberation. And while I introduce our featured guest, my sister cousin, Drechir Whitfield, today, I would love for you all to tell me what you think self-love is. What does self-love mean to you while I go into this introduction for Dre? I'm going to be calling her Dre during this conversation. So Dre has made a name for herself as the wedding realtor, a title that encapsulates her unique blend of professional experience and personal passion. As a real estate consultant, Drechir is dedicated to giving individuals and families toward generational wealth through the savvy buying and selling of personal property. But what truly sets her apart is her role as an officiant and wedding producer, earning her a reputation as the voice that unites the love of others in the wedding capital of the world. And the wedding capital of the world is Vegas.
Vegas,
baby. Welcome to the show, cousin.
Thank you for having me, cousin. And hi, everyone that came to listen to us chat about this.
So I haven't seen anything in the chat around.
I'm sorry.
Caleb.
Oh, no, there's Denim. Mommy is live. Okay. There are people watching.
People are watching.
Denim,
So
I'm sorry.
we haven't gotten anything in the chat, and it could just be LinkedIn that's running a little bit behind in terms of what self-love means to other people. So I'm going to read a passage and obviously ask you what you believe self-love is. How do you define it to kick off the episode? So this is actually a passage from a book called Heart Talk by Cleo Wade. I actually read this book or listened to it when I was actually going through my separation and subsequent divorce with my wife. And this was really a passage that stood out to me because I feel like I did a lot of making excuses, making myself small, just trying to make sure that I showed up in a way for her that I needed to show up, rather than showing up for myself. So the passage says, love yourself enough to walk into only the rooms and situations that show care and love for you. Love yourself enough to walk out of the rooms that harm you in any way. Love yourself enough to hold the people who harm you accountable for their words and actions. Love yourself enough to express your wants, your needs, and your desires. Love yourself enough to tell the truth. Love yourself enough to keep yourself safe. Love yourself enough to say enough is enough when enough has become enough. And there's a note at the bottom that says, a love like this moves mountains. So when I think about self-love, that is actually a passage that comes to mind. And I just continue to go back to it when I am second guessing myself on what I should be doing, how I should be showing up. So what about you, Dre? What does self-love mean to you?
I love that passage that you read because it kind of gives you all the different ways of self-love. It's not, self-love isn't this monolith. It's not one way of doing it. Some people think it's pampering yourself. You know, I went and got a massage or I got a pedicure and that's self-love. It's a form of it. But to me, at its root, self-love is self-acceptance. And it's basically deciding that I am who I am based off of my life's experiences, and I hold no judgment against myself, but I wrap my arms around myself in a way. For me, self-love is being your own grandma. It's like the sweetest, kindest, most loving grandma that you can think of. That is self-love to yourself in action.
Yeah, I love that example, being your own grandma.
I had a sweet grandma. Well, I have a sweet grandma. Look, I have a sweet grandma. Sweet as pie. So, yeah.
Yeah. So what are some ways that you have missed out on giving it to yourself? Like, I know that it's been a journey for you to get to self-love, and it's been that for many of us. So what are some ways you feel like you missed out on giving it to yourself that might resonate with others who are listening?
You know, I wouldn't phrase it as that I missed out on it. I would say that I just didn't know. You know, so again, if I accept myself, I accept my flaws, I accept my experiences that didn't quite align with what I wanted. And I just had to go through that, you know. So along my journey and continuation, because self-love is like a lifelong thing. Some days you don't feel like you love yourself. Sometimes you are fed up with yourself. So what I can say is that there have been instances, if I look back, I can acknowledge and say, oh, when I let that person walk all over me, I didn't love myself. But I could also look at it and say, well, I didn't tell them how they needed to behave towards me, or I didn't have the proper boundaries for that person. I've people pleased a lot. That is a way of realizing like I'm not really loving me because I'm really loving them more than I'm loving myself. Not that I'm not loving me, but I'm kind of putting them above my own needs, and then not in a selfish way, but I self-sacrificed myself. You know, it's like, wow, I did that and I felt great that I made this other person feel awesome, but a bits and pieces of myself were lost in the process of that. So people pleasing is one. In relationships, dating different men and going through the trials and tribulations.
That's what they are, girl. Trials and tribulations.
of dating, right? And even still, I can say that I had to learn what I did not like, what I didn't accept, what I wasn't going to accept, to now be able to say, oh, wow, actually, so I know that I don't like that, or I do like that. So in my partner now, I'm like, oh, I love this about him because he has this and doesn't have that, So I guess, I mean, to be honest, in my younger days, I was very much, I'm not going to say a player, but
I mean, it runs in the family.
I wouldn't say I was a player, but I've always kind of had this mentality. And I think it's due to poor experiences with men that I would say, well, it's another guy. There are more fish in the sea, Yeah, Dan, body dysmorphia, anxiety, depression. We're going to get into that body dysmorphia in a minute, for real. That's another way. Not seeing my own self as beautiful, even though others may have seen it. Those are some ways, just not being able to see myself in my highest light, see myself as my grandmama would look at me.
Absolutely.
I
remember being a kid and my grandma was like, "You're so pretty when you cry." And I'm like, who says that to people? So yes, grandmas are definitely the ones that really, if you have a grandmother that you have that type of relationship with, because we know all grandmas are not created equal.
There's some hardcore grandmas out there.
Yeah, that we have experienced grandmas. It really does resonate with me.
Yeah.
So about what Dan said about how you look at yourself. So if you've been following me for a while, you know that very recently I took an ancestry test. I found my father's side of the family and we all connected. So in March of last year, I went home to Virginia and we had a good old time just meeting each other. But Dre does not live in Virginia, so that made it a little difficult. So Dre actually came to my house in November of last year for my birthday, and we spent like a week together before my birthday. And one of the first conversations that we had on the phone, like leading up to the planning for you to come here, was really about our parents, our mothers, basically. So I'm adopted. I did not grow up with my mother. I did not grow up with my father, but I do have a relationship with my mother, albeit strained. And one of the things that we talked about is how my mother growing up and other people in my adoptive family, not my parents, but sisters in my family, have said things to me like, "Oh, you're getting fat. Oh, you're big," or "Look at your butt," or this, that, and the third. It just was continuous conversations about what I look like. And even looking back at those pictures today, I'm like, girl, big. But they were talking to me and saying things to me that they felt about themselves.
Yeah.
And they're putting that on me. So can you talk a little bit about how that showed up for you growing up?
Absolutely. You're right. We talked about this, and personally, I grew up in a very religious home. My dad he didn't go to church like daily or Sundays or anything like that. My mom wanted him to go, but he was just like, I ain't going. My mom, however, devout Christian, evangelist, churchaholic, and workaholic is what I would say she was as I grew up. And like you, I had the same experience of shaming of what my body looked like. Yeah. And it's crazy because you're right. You look back and you look at these pictures and it was like, you were a baddie, Dre. I mean, I still am. But like back then, like, wow, I always been me. But even to this day, I still have those things where I have to say to myself, like, come on, Dre, you're a human living a human life. And so I'll say that when I was very young, in our family, we got dump trucks. I mean, it just is what it is, y'all. And my mom put me in a girdle at like 8. And her reasoning, which is why I don't hold any animosity against her for making these decisions. I know that she chose to do this because that was the best thing she could come up with what she knew. But in her mind, she was like, your butt's sticking out. You don't want the men at the church looking at you. And so at that time, of course, we know that people were very focused on what she's doing and why she's getting the attention she's getting versus holding old ass men accountable for looking at potentially an 8, 9, 10-year-old, you know? So growing up, even in school, you know, I would get certain attention, and it always, you know, some people might think it was like, oh, you know, they like this or that. But for me, it always kind of felt uncomfortable because it's like, you're not supposed to like that about me because I don't even like that about me. Even in growing up, years and years of, I'll say this, we learn from observing our parents. And I feel that as women, we are learning mostly observing from our mothers how we should perceive our own selves. And when they put their thoughts, their limiting beliefs, how they feel about their bodies onto us, because we are made up of them. I got the booty from you, Mom. Yeah. You know, I got all the things. I got the lips from you. I got the nose from you. When we look at that stuff, we look at how our mother looked at herself. So if my mom was constantly on a diet, every 3 days, it's a new diet, it's a new pill. It's something restricting her from what she's eating. So she's no good relationship with food. It's teaching me, it's teaching you, or you may be teaching your children, whoever you may be, to not love themselves, to not feel that they are beautiful, to not, you know, value the body that they have. My mama's hated her stomach. And my stomach, just like hers, is just smaller. And it's taken me a long time to be like, you know what? This stomach is housing all of my essential organs. This stomach is keeping me safe. This stomach is a very important part of my body. Everybody's got a stomach. If you don't have a stomach, you're weird. You know? If you walk around with no stomach, something might be up. So it's taken years of recognizing the self-hating words to ourselves. Yeah. To realize, actually, let me find the gratitude in what I have. It's people that can't digest nothing. It's people that are feeding themselves through tubes, have coloscopy bags. And I got a little bit of fat. I got a little bit of cellulite. You know? So we put these things into comparison and say, okay, I recognize that my mom was giving me this stuff that I didn't even ask for. And I've been carrying it around like Erykah Badu and the Bag Lady. Bag Lady. Let it go. So it takes time, though. It takes action to undo that stuff. It's in our brain. When we're from 0 to 6, your prefrontal cortex isn't there. So you don't have that reason in mind to say, this doesn't make sense for me to hate this about myself. All you have is download phase. You're just receiving information through observing, through seeing what other people are saying, doing, speaking, feeling about themselves and about others. And you just take it on with you all this time until something snaps you out of it. And unfortunately for like most people, and I won't even say like, I mean, we're in the age of information now, so there's a lot of information out there, but for many people, they never snap out of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I recently became a positive intelligence coach. And everything that you said is resonating with me because the positive intelligence framework is really all about identifying who your saboteurs are, what your saboteurs are, the behaviors that you created when you were a kid to keep you safe, the things that you did to make sure that you were safe because you didn't feel safe, maybe in your home, in your body, with, you know, people that were supposed to love you, and really just giving you the tools that you need to reassess, why is it that I am the way that I am? Maybe this isn't who I am. This is just what the world made me become based on experiences as a child. So I really do resonate with that.
So with the, what is it called again?
Positive intelligence.
With the positive intelligence, would you say that it's multiple, you said saboteurs?
Yes.
So that's multiple ways that I may be my saboteurs may be different from yours.
Absolutely.
Or from Crystal with the LE instead of. So, okay. So I guess what I'm saying, how do you discover what your saboteurs are?
Yeah, so you actually take an assessment to discover what your saboteurs are, who your saboteurs are. So personally, for me, my top saboteur is the stickler, where it's just perfectionism. I'm always like picking at something to be like, oh, I need to fix this. This needs to be better. But just identifying like what my saboteurs are has really transformed my life in a way where when people talk to me, they're like, oh my God, like you sound so happy. And maybe we aren't even talking, we're just texting. This happened to me like a couple of days ago. I was texting one of my friends and she was like, you seem so happy. I was like, I am. That's funny that you can tell that through, text message.
Wow.
And she was like, yeah, you got like some pep. Like it's some pep in what you're typing. And I'm like, oh, that's amazing that you can feel that coming through the phone. And it's because of this framework that has really helped me to really identify what was going on, why is it going on, and how do I quiet those saboteurs. So I'll also tell you what the other ones are. So the saboteurs are stickler, hyperachiever, avoider, hypervigilant, pleaser, controller, restless, hyperrational, and victim. So based on your answers, like there may be different rankings of these things. So for example, victim for me is a 1. The highest you can get is a 10. So stickler for me is 8, hyperachiever is 6, and so on and so forth going down. So some won't really apply all the way to you.
So all of them wouldn't apply, but you got some of most of them in there, and then you rank it based off of your 10, 9, and 8, so to speak, or your highest ones.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
3 are the ones that you were really focused on.
Like listening to that, mine is, just based off of the names. So I would say mine is the hyper rational. I think it's like, okay, let me make this make sense. This is why this is happening.
Yes.
It's because of this. And if I understand why it is, then I can let it go. Right. But what I've learned in this, so I was telling you before, and I said I was going to say before the show. So I have been really working with releasing my emotions. I have for so long. I think that once you become like aware of yourself, you kind of go through these phases, right? And then I think that I've gotten to a point of awareness and that rationale that I just say, you know what? I'm going to let this roll off my back. And usually I feel like I do. But then there are some things, deep things that may have happened to me, experiences that I've had, people doing me just wrong, and I know I didn't deserve it, but I still was like, you know what? They are projecting themselves onto me. I don't have to accept this. I don't have to take it personal. I live by the 4 agreements. So I really am like, I don't have to take this personal. But in my core, it's really me just holding on to it because I didn't cuss them people out. Not to say y'all should cuss people out, but I didn't express that feeling. And so what I'm doing now, and I've done it before because I do yoga, and I've unconsciously had emotional releases with like yin yoga before. It's like you're in a pose and then all of a sudden you're like, you're just crying. But I've been working specifically on somatic movement to pull those emotions out. Basically, those emotions that you didn't handle or you didn't let yourself have, they get locked up in your musculature, in your tendons and in your bones. That's why people got achy back, their knees cracking and hurting. Why I always have headaches, because you got those emotions locked in your body that you haven't let out and you haven't let go. So I've been working with somatic movements to just jostle that stuff out. And it's really been quite amazing. Just a light feeling afterwards. So I think something like that, coupled with the understanding of your saboteurs, I think that's like on the way to full self-love.
Yeah. Yeah. And I can definitely see how somatic movement is like self-love in action.
Absolutely.
And also just being able to set boundaries with people, like being able to let it out, as you were mentioning, like if I feel a certain way, I need to tell you because that is self-love. I'm loving myself enough
To
to
stand up for
share,
myself.
yes, to stand up for yourself and share with the person, this is how you hurt me.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that that's really important.
I think growing up in families where children should be seen and not heard, and you don't talk back, those experiences as children, because I'm speaking for myself, that it does make it hard for you to stand up for yourself later on. It's like I'm my late teens, early 20s, you could have it. I'm gonna tell you all about yourself and your mama and your dog. But then as things start happening in your life, and I think you get kind of knocked down a few times, it's like, maybe this because I was talking back to people. I'm just gonna go within. I ain't gonna say nothing else, I definitely, that resonates with me. Standing up for yourself, telling people how they got you up, let them know. And you can do it with love. You can do it in love. It doesn't have to be that uncontrolled response.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people do feel like when you are pushing back on someone, that's automatically negative. And as
Mm-hmm.
Black women, it's hard for us to do that because we get that put on us if we're being assertive, if we're being straightforward on how it is that you're feeling, challenging and pushing back, then all of a sudden we are the angry Black woman.
Mm-hmm.
And we see the world through that same lens.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Militant about maintaining. I know that's right. Militant about maintaining their peace.
Mm-hmm. I'm
Yes.
a little annoyed because I think we're missing comments inside the chat. We're not seeing them.
I'm seeing them come up on my screen.
Are you?
Mm-hmm,
Oh,
Dr.
you're clicking them. That's how you're seeing them come up on the screen. But on the
Oh.
comment screen on the side, I didn't see a post
Oh.
from Dr. Haley Haywood. So thank you, Samantha, for elevating that because it's not coming through for us to see. Come on, StreamYard and LinkedIn. Get it together.
Get it together.
Yes. So I know we only have 2 minutes left, and this is making it very clear that this show needs to be longer than 30 minutes.
Just a tad bit, because I had more stuff to say. No,
a little bit longer. So I think we kind of talked about ways in which people can get to a point of self-love. But is there one more thing that you would want to share that if you are a person that feels like you are not, you can't resonate with self-love, you aren't loving yourself, what's one thing that you would tell them to do to begin their journey to self-love?
Rest. I would tell them to rest. And in the discomfort of rest, because there are a lot of people that just can't rest. They can't step away from their job, their family, whatever, in order to get to know themselves. That's a part of self-love, creating a relationship with you when you're accepting yourself. And then I'm getting to know myself. I'm not judging me because when I'm hungry, I get a little attitude, that's just how I am. Now I don't have to abuse others in that, but I can be aware, like, okay, I probably should have a Snickers. Don't eat Snickers. I should probably have something, but rest, take time, in the morning or whenever, do a walk, do a lay down when you're feeling how you're feeling. Go somewhere by yourself, solo dolo. I believe in solo dates, solo trips, just do it and do it by yourself. No distractions, no TV, nothing to catch your attention. My friend Angie, she's a host out here. She does all types of parties, events, all these things. And she just texted me and was like, girl, I'm going to the beach. I'll see you in a couple of days, just to let me know she was going. I'm like, I got you, girl. Okay, I got your location. But she just posted, like, I went out to the beach and I just had to do nothing.
Yeah.
Put my phone on D&D. So rest, I think, is the number one form of self-love.
Yes, I love that so much. And We didn't practice this, but that was a perfect setup for the sharing of what you all saw at the beginning of the episode, which is that I am planning my second retreat in August 11th through the 15th, 5 days, 4 nights in Cartagena, Colombia. It's all inclusive. It's just for Black women, exclusively for Black women. So it's built for and by us.
Can I go?
We're going to be immersed in Afro-Colombian culture and enveloped in Blackness. And as I shared before on a previous episode, I had been told that the previous retreat that I held felt like Wakanda. It felt like a big Black bubble. And that's what I want for my guests, because I want you to be able to put it down and be in a space with women who understand your experience, who are there to hold you up and support you. And it does something for your nervous system when you are with your people. So if you want to learn more about the retreat and you'd like to sign up, the website is www.designyoursoftlife.com. So I would love to hear from you. Also, if you want to send me a DM and talk to me about it, very happy to do that as well if you want more information. But Dre, how can people stay connected with you, especially if they're getting married and they want to buy a house?
Yes, so I am the wedding realtor, and whether you want to say yes to the house or the spouse, I'm here to support you through life's most important moments. You can reach out to me. You can reach out to me at www.realtordre.kw.com. You can always reach out to me. I'm on Instagram. Okay, I'm usually on Instagram. I post a lot of crazy, funny things and all that stuff. So, and details about real estate, and I post my beautiful weddings. So if you are thinking about getting married in the wedding capital of the world, I'll be happy to be the voice that unites your love, or the one that makes sure that nothing goes terribly wrong. And if you're in Vegas, or even if you're not in Vegas and you're looking to slide into real estate or make a purchase, or you just have a question that's based on real estate, because it's kind of a crazy market right now, a lot of people just don't know, you can always reach out to me. My Instagram is at Drechir in Vegas. So it's just like my name is spelled on the screen without the accent mark. So DRECHIRIN Vegas.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Dre. I am sure people will be connecting with you on Instagram because you are very funny. You have a series on Friday that's pretty hilarious. So whether or not,
and informative.
Yes, it's informative and also very hilarious. So please follow Dre on Instagram, on LinkedIn, and all the places. And I really appreciate you so much for being here with us today. And I appreciate everyone else for tuning in. As I mentioned at the start of the episode, there is actually a community gathering space that's being led by my sis, Dr. Haley Haywood. Before Haley jumped off to go to her event, she dropped the link to her event in the chat. So if you are able to join, if you're a woman of color that's looking for a community gathering space, please feel free to click on the link. She would love to have you. And I'm about to skedaddle over there.
I'm over there too.
Okay, cool. Thanks, everybody. See you next week.
Everyone. See ya.